Welcome to Q1043's Sonstein Sunday. Here's your host, Shelli Sonstein.
Good morning. I am going to make you so hungry. Yes, it's going to kill you this morning. I have to tell you that I reunited with a dear friend who's been friends with me forever. And she's from Britain, and she, like me, is into food. But we're seriously into food that's healthy and fresh, but tasty. So she said, you have to try this restaurant with me in Montclair. And we were at another restaurant when she told me about this. We were at our favorite Italian restaurant on earth. And so she said, you have to come and dine with me at Blu in Montclair. So I said, fine, I trust her opinion. And after having the food, but more importantly, after meeting the owner and the chef and hearing his story, I had to invite him on this show so that you could hear this story because it's just amazing. So with me is Zod Arifai. So welcome and congratulations on an incredible restaurant. I haven't tried your other two, Next Door and Daryl in New Brunswick, but God, that was incredible.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me. Much appreciated.
So let's get right to your story. You are from Albania.
I'm Albanian from Kosovo,
Okay.
and we came here in 1974. And
you were how old?
I was 9 when I came here.
Okay.
Originally, I got into music really, really early, and I wanted to become a rock star.
And that was because of Kiss?
It was when I first saw Kiss. It was in Poland special. And I was, wow, what's going on here? What is this? Fire, smoke, them running around, jumping, everything. It was just mayhem on stage. But then later on, I got into, Led Zeppelin is obviously my favorite band of all time. And then later on, I listened to everything from Prince to Metallica. As long as it's good, it's got energy, and it's a little bit different. I don't like everything, but I do like everything, whether it's funk or rock or metal I like it all.
And so you were how old then when you seriously get into rock?
I started playing when I was 14.
Self-taught?
Yeah, I took some lessons. A little bit about reading, but it was mostly guitar lessons. But I would just play a lot. I didn't even need. I'd go home from school and just play music nonstop, and I would fall asleep maybe 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. Sleep for a couple hours, go back to school, and slept mostly in school because I didn't sleep at home. My guitar was with me for like 20 hours a day.
So you thought you were going to be a rock star, and you actually played.
We played all over. We even played at the Montclair Jazz Festival.
Wow!
Back in 1993, it was we were pretty big.
What was the name of the group?
The band that we played there was a band called Bang, Bang. And what was unique is that we actually had a classical violinist playing through Marshall stacks and made this really, really unique sound. And that's what drew me to this. They had a sound that nobody else had. It was very, very unique.
So you were actually making your living doing this?
Yeah.
You were able to do that?
We played all over U.S., Canada, Europe. But we had a semi-deal from Warner Brothers because he was signed to Warner Brothers already, and we did some recordings, but they were never released. But we recorded in studios. And next to us was David Bowie and Keith Richards in the same studios. So this was my life. This was my passion.
So what happened?
But when I got 30, 31, I said, maybe I'm getting a little too late to be a rock star. Because back then, everybody made it by the time they were like 20, 22, 23. I says, what else am I going to do? So my next passion was food. I always loved food. I always enjoyed not so much cooking, eating it more. We would be touring all over, whether it was in Europe or U.S. and wherever, and I would always eat in really, really great restaurants. My bandmates would go to McDonald's or get a slice of pizza, and I was always find where's a great restaurant. Like we're in Paris, and I'm eating at Joel Robuchon, who's considered to be the best chef in the world. Actually, he's considered to be the chef of the century. And I'm eating at Joel Robuchon, and my bandmates are going to having a ham and cheese sandwich somewhere because they just were not into it. So food was always. I grew up eating good food. We grew up eating, very, very naturally, and sometimes we would just pick stuff from our yard. We had big yards, big houses. Would just pick stuff, or I would go into the fields and play soccer with my friends all day long, and on the way home, come and grab some tomatoes or cucumbers or some peppers, and that would be dinner. Mom would make dinner later on.
And your mom, you said, was your inspiration. So tell me a little bit about her cooking, because the ingredients were limited. It was limited what you could get.
The most of great food is really it's not about throwing a whole bunch of ingredients in there to make the dish shine. It's about using no more than 3 or 4 elements on a plate and making that shine. So
and that would include, you mean not even more than 3 or 4 spices? Or are you talking about the elements being vegetables, potatoes,
yes,
protein?
But one of the biggest things is people, how they ruin food is by adding too many spices. Okay, so when they're trying to make something, they say, okay, but let me throw oregano, let me throw basil, and let me throw thyme, and let me throw peppercorns, and then at the end, you really don't know what you're eating. You can't taste what you're eating. You have some sort of a flavor created, but you really can't tell what's going on. When you're eating my food or some of the other better chefs in the restaurants, we don't overkill. So it's what's called clean flavors. You can taste what you're eating. You can taste the sauce. So if the sauce is made of ginger, we try to extract as much ginger flavor into that. We're not adding, oregano and cumin and this and that and whatever to that to dilute the flavor. We want that flavor to be just of ginger.
But nobody taught you. So how do you go from loving food and from your mother's kitchen to being like a rock star chef?
Well,
because you are in certain circles a rock star chef.
The new rock stars are chefs now.
That's true.
That seems to be the new exciting thing going on. But in terms of me, when I first started cooking, I would go to restaurants and find out that food just wasn't good, and I would sit and say to myself, why is my mom make something that's so great and it tastes so great, and I'm going to all these great restaurants and sometimes I can't even tell what I'm eating. And I said, it must be the simplicity. She's not overloading all these dishes. If she's making a cabbage stew, it's like cabbage, a little bit water, maybe some onions, a little bit paprika, a little tomato if it's in season, and that's it. And you really taste the essence of the cabbage. It's not loaded with all these other flavors. And I think that's what most people, especially at home, what they do is they think that the more they put in there, the better it's going to taste. And it's not the more you put in, the better it's going to taste. The more you put in there, the more confused the flavor becomes.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking of one time only, I decided to do a Martha Stewart potato salad recipe. And oh my God, the number of ingredients. And I was like losing my mind. And in the end, it was all right, but it didn't wow me over. But it was such a pain in the butt.
Oh, yeah? I don't follow recipes.
I know you don't. Now, how do you do that too? I just don't know how you do this.
I have a few cookbooks. There's probably no more than maybe. I read a lot about food, mostly about food philosophy, history of foods. How do we use...
Let me interrupt you just so I can reintegrate the audience here. This is Zod Arifai, and he is the owner and chef at Blu and Next Door in Montclair, and also Daryl in New Brunswick. And he just has this incredible story of he invented himself. So when we're looking at the ingredients of what we're doing, I mean, first of all, my food is really, really clean. It's very, very healthy because we use really, really extremely fresh vegetables. We only cook seasonally, whatever. So tomatoes, we only use tomatoes in summertime. As a matter of fact, we just use tomatoes for the past 4 or 5 weeks, and that's it. There's no more tomatoes in my menu again until next summer. So, and that's the way I grew up eating, though. And in wintertime, we never ate tomatoes. We never had cucumbers in wintertime. So, what kind of vegetables would you have? in the winter
Well, in
time?
winter time it's mostly root vegetables,
Right.
potatoes, root vegetables, celery roots, parsnips. It's beans. You eat a lot of grains, beans. Some stuff that is dehydrated or dried. Some vegetables, but as far as really having green vegetables, excuse me, there's no green vegetables in wintertime. So so you're eating mostly root vegetables or something that was preserved.
But let me ask you this. Now, it's really hard to make it in the restaurant business. I mean, I was just back in Montclair, and I lived there a long time. I haven't been there in like 5 or 6 years, I think. But like all the restaurants I knew were gone. This is a very, very difficult business. You have 3. So how do you succeed?
I think it's by being a little bit different, unique, and also understanding. At Next Door, I'm really giving people what they want to eat. It's everyday food, what I call, and it's at a price point that it costs you less to go to Next Door and eat it than for you to go to shop for it, go home, cook for it, have to wash the dishes. It costs you less to come in and eat at Next Door.
All right, that makes sense.
So it's really a neighborhood place that serves really, really reasonable food. At Blu, it's more about just being creative and just serving food that's unique.
At Blu, it's an experience.
So they both work. So I have 2 restaurants. One is in a lower scale, one is in a higher scale. So if you're in the mood for just a burger, we have what people vote and what the media has called the best burger in New Jersey.
They did?
You go to Next Door, yes. And if you want to eat something a little more creative or adventurous, you go to Blu. So I have kind of on both ends, high end and low ends, that I'm doing something quite unique with it. It's not just a burger; it's really, really a special burger. So that's
what makes the burger special? Because I know my audience loves burgers.
Well, it's the way we handle it with love. So it's the way we cook it. I wasn't a burger guy, so when I opened up Next Door, I decided to put a burger in there, and it took me 3 months to get that burger to be perfect.
All right, but what makes a perfect burger?
Well, it's a mixture of the bread, the cheese, and the meat. So when I first opened up Next Door, I used great meat, and I used great cheese, and I used a really, really great bun. But when you ate it, it just didn't eat well. And I'm saying to myself, something is wrong here? Why isn't this burger eating good? But because I wasn't a burger guy, I was never really into burgers until I opened up Next Door. It took me a while to figure it out. What was missing there? So I realized that it's not just the meat that you're using. It's also the bun that you're using. It's also the cheese that you're using. And now I really want you to just taste the meat and the cheese, and we don't have all these crazy toppings that people are putting in there. So it's not a sandwich per se. It's really a burger. So there's nothing in there. It's just a little bit of caramelized onions, cheese, meat, and the bun.
And what kind of bun?
The bun is a potato and onion bun that we get from a bakery called Balthazar Bakery. It's very soft. So originally I had a hard bun in there, a hard roll that was very, very. It was a delicious piece of bread, but it just didn't work for the burger. So I realized.
And Zod is all about texture.
Yeah. Yes, we when eating something, I don't want just everything just to be kind of. Monotone in your mouth. I want both the flavors and the textures to kind of jump at you. So the bun had to be soft. It had to be a soft bun so it feels luxurious when you're eating it. And the meat, what we do is we don't just grill it or whatever. We give it like a really hard sear, so it has like a little bit crunch to it. So that's why the other hard roll didn't work with it, because there was a little bit of crunch on the meat. And it's a 10-ounce burger, so it's quite thick. So it eats almost like a steak. It's very, very unique.
All right. We only have a couple minutes left. How do you go from having a dream, owning a restaurant, being a chef in a great restaurant, to making that happen? I'm only giving you a few, like a couple minutes to explain, because a lot of people have these dreams and they don't get the reality that you have.
You have to be really, really extreme hard worker. That's number one. Okay, there's no such thing as lazing around, or I don't enjoy doing anything except cooking. So there is no, for me, a vacation is about going out to eat somewhere, or going to Paris or Denmark or Barcelona. It's not about going to Cancun or Bahamas. That gives me no pleasure. So your dedication to what your craft, to what you're doing, has to be enormous,
Like
and
obsessive.
extreme, in order to make it and be somebody, and get acknowledged for what you do in something. There's a lot of people, chefs, that say, "Oh, I love what I do," but they're not in the right state of mind to be creative, or the dedication, or their hard work. And it's a mixture of those three. You have to have talent. You have to understand food for what it is. Because, I mean, if you ask so many people today, something as simple as, I don't know, where do strawberries come from, or where those beans come from, or something very simple, they don't know. They have no idea where do beans come from? Do they grow on a tree, or is it the bush, or what is it, or something, or a strawberry, or wherever. So you have to understand food. You can't just say, I know how to cook food. You have to understand food. Where does it come from? And how to treat it. You have to be extremely dedicated. I mean, I only think about food. I don't think about much. Music too, but it's all about food.
So instead of men thinking about sex like every 8 seconds, you're thinking of food every 8 seconds.
I'm thinking of food, and during sex, I think about food too.
Oh no!
So sometimes I'm having sex and I'm thinking, oh, this dish would be really, really great this way and this way. So I'm really, really, for me, I'm obsessed with food. And I think most people. They get to a stage where they're obsessed, and then they get a little bit older, and they, like naturally, like you have great chefs like Thomas Keller or Jean George or Danielle and Boulay, but these guys are a little bit older now. They're not working 15, 18 hours anymore. So people, so there comes a time in your life where you just can't, your back starts hurting a little bit, and your knees start hurting a little bit, and you just can't work 18 hours anymore. But it's you have to be extremely dedicated to be successful. And in this business, it's much easier to make it big than it was for me to become a rock star in music business, because you will get discovered. No matter where you are, if you're doing something great in this business, people will write about you, and you will get discovered, and you will get an audience. So it's really, really you that will limit yourself to how far you can go.
Interesting. Okay. We've run out of time. Thank you so much, Zod Arifai. He is the owner and chef at Blu Next Door and Daryl. Blu and Next Door in Montclair, and Daryl in New Brunswick. And yum is all I can say.
Q1043 Sunstein Sunday.